Sunshine Wiley, Dwayne Bradford, Jarvell Bell, and the whole band. And we're working on it right now. There's no release date, but it's definitely going to be an album that I'm happy with. You know, I'm very comfortable with working with these people, you know, and it's like we're creating nothing but just pure vibes, pure great vibes, and I'm loving it. And I'm also working on, like I said, my album, which I don't have a name yet for, and I'm still in the studio working on it. I'm also doing a side job of photography with my cousin. He's on my team too, with Sean Lyles, and our company is called R Vision. And we're doing a dark addition to a magazine, which would be DARRK. And it's basically saying, you know, that pictures, black and white pictures, show emotion, they tell a story. Mm-hmm. And outside of that, you know, I'm just going back and forth in and out of town, just meeting with people and getting different ideas of how I want to get my message across as an artist.
Is there anything that you're shooting for as an artist? Like, is there a goal that you're working towards?
You know, I want to, you know, real quick,
Mm-hmm.
I really love what Chance the Rapper is doing.
Yeah.
He has done what I have been preaching to artists about. Ever since I met him through Classic, I met him, and everything that he said to me, he did. There's not one thing that he did not do that he said. And he's outdoing himself. And I love it, you know, because there's no barriers to him. And as an independent artist, that's what I want to be. You know, I don't want to have barriers around me. You know, I once was looking for, you know, labels to, you know, to pick me up and sign me, but it's like, you know, I really don't want barriers. You know what I mean? I really want somebody that really is in love with my music, you know. So, and it's not more just about, you know, being business savvy, but I want you to love my music and help me make the right decisions, marketing wise and other stuff like that, you know. But Chance the Rapper, he's just outdoing himself with what he's doing for the community and for music and for future artists, as I should say. So my goal is to reach masses of artists and impact them and tell them, like, you can do the same. You just have to focus. You have to make the right moves. And don't back down to anybody. Just because somebody has more power than you doesn't mean you have to back down, you know. So
Right. Yes, shout out to Chance the Rapper. I don't even know how I did not start the show with that, because I know the platform for the show is for Chicago artists and specifically Chicago artists. So Chicago is very, very proud of you, Chance. You are leading the way on doing something very, very positive and great, you know, for the Chicago community and for CPS. I think I speak for the entire city when I say we appreciate you, you know, and what you're doing. So shout out to Chancellor Bennett from Chicago.
Yes, sir.
79th Street.
Right. Bennett boy.
Right. So, but back to you. I've seen you perform live, and that's how I came to know you before I started following you on Instagram or anything like that. Do you prefer performing live to working in the studio? Do they go hand in hand, or what?
I like to sound the same in the studio as I do live, and that's why I came more to like bands. Like I love using bands now because bands give you more control of, you know, of the crowd. So yeah, I say the same energy. More when recording, you get more of the smoother D Lylez, you know, because it's all effects and I'm still trying to tell a story. So I gotta try my best to paint this picture for you to understand. But then live, I go into another world, you know. So there may be some things that I do that I don't notice that I'm doing, but it's just because I'm really feeling it, emotion. You know, I'm really feeling that emotion on the stage. So, and that's what I'm going to give you. Like I zone out. I don't really care what happens. I'm just zoning out, and I'm giving you a show. You know, if you pay for Beyonce and Usher, if they just stand there all night, you're going to be pissed. You want to see them hop around that stage, you know, and for people that don't really pay to come see me, and for those that do, I mean, I'm still going to give you a show regardless, whether it's 12 people, 5 people, or whether it was 100 people. I'm still going to do the same exact thing, you know, but then I'm going to try to switch my show up, and that's what I'm working on now for this upcoming year and the rest of the year that we have left, 2017. So I'm going to put more of my musician side on the stage, per se. So.
Okay. Is there anybody that you would like to collaborate with that you haven't yet had the opportunity?
I'm gonna stick with Chicago. Because Chicago has so much potential for an industry. There is no industry here as far as labels, but man, I wanna team up with my hometown. You know what I mean? I want to keep the home pumping. You know, not to say no new friends, but there's a lot of people else I do want to work with. You know, I want to work with this girl named her name is Yuna. She did a song with Usher. She's pretty cool. I want to do a song with of course with Chance. I want to do a song. Who else? I actually want to do a pop song. With Zed, the producer. For some reason, his music is like crazy to me. But more so my lane now. I think this producer named Sango. I would work with him. On the production side, I think that would be dope. You know. Yeah, if he just gives me, a chance at some stuff, some more stuff, well, maybe we could do a collab. But yeah, I plan to do collabs with anybody that wants to be great and they think further than just being music and making money.
So how do you feel about people that feel like they have to leave Chicago because we don't really have, an industry there as far as like labels and stuff like that? Who, artists that feel like I have to go to LA or I have to go to New York or I have to leave, Chicago in order to make it.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest debates. I thank you for asking the question. That's a great question. I feel like it's necessary. We have to leave and experience other things. We have to get away. But then you have to come back. You really do have to come back and teach. Because if you don't come back, then there's going to be yet another era of music that's going to be more disturbing than what it is now. And I think it's our fault, and not just Chicago, just within the Black community, that we let hip-hop, get away from us in a sense to where, it's mainstream. It's still underground hip-hop is still booming, you know what I'm saying? And even in Chicago. That's battle rapping that hit Chicago. And there's R&B artists, that are coming out with new things in Chicago. But it's also good to bring it back home. When we go somewhere and we consume that knowledge, let's bring it back to the home. Let's bring it back to the crib, spread it amongst ourselves. And let's make the industry here. What I mean? Let's do something, other than just Chicago being known about violence. That really irks me, so.
Yeah, I definitely, hate to hear, the negative about, Chicago, because I think there's so much potential, and so much positive, in the city. And that's exactly what, I'm doing, hopefully in Atlanta. I definitely want to be able to, learn some things and soak up some things and bring it right back to Chicago because, that's always been my plan. Like, I want to see an industry there. And I think that, the artists there deserve to have that. They are totally deserving of, having that without having to, go somewhere else to find that, So I think that it's one of those things kind of like if we put, our talents and knowledge, together and actually, work on it as a unit instead of everyone trying to do their own thing, all the time, I think that, it's something that could foreseeably happen, I would say in the near future within the next, few years or so. So I definitely feel you on that because that's who I'm dedicated to. So that's why the show exists, and Chicago artists, community definitely has my heart. So.
Yeah, exactly, and that's where the legends did it. Some of them left, but they still came back and they still did it. When they were home, because back then, radio was the biggest thing.
Right.
So your record had to be on the radio for you to leave town, even to do shows. So you had to stay home, sell out shows at home, and then boom, you're gone. And all the love is still there. Now you can be popping anywhere.
Right.
Even from the internet. You could be in LA from Chicago and you're popping on the internet. So now that's just the era of how music, has changed as far as, marketing. But yeah, that's definitely important. That's what I want to see. I want to see Chicago just grow more together. I don't want us to really hate on each other or feel spiteful or feel jealous. So if you believe in somebody, push them. encourage them. Even if you don't like somebody, just encourage them anyway. I
Right.
think you're dope. So just stay encouraged.
Right. Well, I think you're dope, D Lylez. That's why you're here.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You're dope as well.
Thank you. Thank you. So,
Yeah.
the one
Support the
question
dope.
absolutely all day, every day. But
Yeah.
the one question I ask the guests before I end the show, and sometimes it's a little more difficult for others because I think it's such your answers could reach in many different directions. But I think it's a good question to end with because it kind of leaves something on people's minds, and that's if you had to pick one thing you would want the world to know about you, D Lylez, what would that be?
Hmm. But, it is a
Yeah,
broad question. It's like
yeah,
so infinite. But
yeah.
I think I would want people to know that I do and truly have a big heart.
Hmm.
And I'd rather people to just hear it, than it to just be, rumored about like, whether I'm a bad person. But, I'm a big hearted person, and I do love hard, and towards anybody. I have love for anybody, and even if you do me wrong, I still have love for you. I'm just a loving person.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think that's what matters. So
Right.
love is God, and, God is love. So why not spread that?
That was a great answer.
Um,
So, where can our listeners keep up with you and follow you, like on social media?
You can keep up with me on Twitter and IG at D Lylez. That's at DLYLEZ. My YouTube is Darius Lylez. Darius Lylez without the Z's is Lylez, Lylez. And you can also find me on Facebook, Church Lylez and Darius Lylez.
Dope. And actually, I was actually about to announce who my next guest is going to be next week, but I'm actually glad I have you on the show because I noticed that the R&B industry, and especially even in Chicago, is so heavily male dominated. So
Yeah.
whenever I can get a woman on the show, I get really excited, especially when she's really good. Like last season, I had Crystal Metcalf on the show, and
Nice, nice.
she's dope. So next week I have
Hmm.
another lady joining me, who's another
Hmm.
powerhouse vocalist, and that's Megan McNeil. So make sure you guys,
Ooh.
yes, tune into that next week, same time, 7:30 Central, here on supportthedope.com. But do you feel that there's any reason that we have so many, male singers in Chicago and not quite as many, females, or at least not to a level where they're at a level of visibility, at this point in their careers of us getting to know who they are in their music? Is there any particular reason, or do you think that's just kind of how it happened?
I mean, that's how it happens. I'm gonna come from a standpoint of being a teacher in artist development. When it comes to women in entertainment, just period, there is a more shy level of it. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to work with women with that to become dominant. Some of them just naturally have it. Some of them could be intimidated, and some
Yeah.
of them to just be like, I don't know. But there are some phenomenal women in Chicago that sings their butt off.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
you have some that are timid and intimidated, and you have some that are powerhouses, and they will sing anywhere at the drop of a hat. They will
Right.
they will make sure you know their name and what they sound like. So I mean, I think it's just that way. When you think of R&B, you think male dominance. It's
Mm-hmm.
just always been that.
Yeah.
And you have notables, Whitney and a few other people, but like it's always just been men. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's just the way it is.
Yeah. And speaking of,
It's a man's world.
or that's what James told us anyway. But but speaking of Chicago singers, female anyway, uh, Tori Griffin, hey Tori, is having a 90s party on Friday, and I actually will be in Chicago this weekend. So I'm actually going to post that flyer for you guys. There's going to be a live band that she's singing with, so it should be really, really
Hey,
dope. Especially, I love 90s, so I'm an 80s baby,
right.
90s kid. So you guys come and say hi. Come, see us there. It should be a really dope show. If you're not following me on Instagram already,